My name is Carolyn Gross, and I'm going to be speaking to you about how to rise above the chaos. I love the Health Freedom Expo, and I'm delighted that I've spoken at it several times and to be with you this year virtually. A little bit about my background. I'm a professional speaker, and my area of research and expertise for 25 years has been managing chaos with confidence. So I'm going to talk about all different areas of managing chaos, both internally and externally, and what we can do to offset the impact that we've been under during this pandemic COVID environment. I'm also an author, patient advocate, and the founder of the Rise Above the Chaos Leadership Series, which I'll be talking to you about at the end of the program. So let's get started. I began my journey in natural health as a cranial sacral therapist. It turns out that I realized through hands-on work that not only was there external chaos in the world, but the way we responded to that external chaos, unexpected news, and adversity had a lot to do with the internal chaos within each of us. As a craniosacral therapist with my patients for 13 years in private practice, I noticed the more that people did body work and healed up some of their past hurts and wounds, the better they were able to navigate during times of uncertainty. So, very fortunately, I wrote a book from my private practice called Staying Calm in the Midst of Chaos. And guess what? I wrote that book before the events of September 11th. So indeed, what happened was when 2002 rolled around, and this is September 11th, 2001, the terrorist attacks in New York City, when I had this manuscript ready to go, and kind of a secret dream in my heart to be a motivational speaker, I took that book across the country from 2002 and 2003. This first strategy, the pyramid for a successful life, comes from that book tour. Because what I found was in adversity and during trying situations, people need simple strategies. So hopefully all the content that we talk about today is going to be a simple strategy that you can easily digest. It starts with the idea that we live in times now of non-stop crisis. It's everywhere. We pick up our phones, we see it in the news, we get an email, we get an unexpected announcement, and of course, with what we've just been through recently with COVID and the shifting tectonic plates of our society. So overnight, so unexpected. So what happens in a crisis, if you're gonna have a successful life, is you're gonna have to risk. What the reason we risk is we're engaging in the crisis. We're trying to solve the problem, because if we can solve the crisis and solve the problem, we will get a desired outcome. So many leaders, which is why I've had the privilege to work with leaders for several decades, so many leaders have their careers because they're able to navigate through crisis and risk and get the desired outcome, which is where they get their leadership recognition. Notice that the base of the pyramid is recognition. What that means is we thrive to be seen and to be acknowledged for our efforts. So if you want to stay on the pyramid for a successful life, and let's say you were engaged in a crisis, but you didn't get the desired outcome, you have to allow self-recognition. Because you know when you put in a lot of effort to solve a problem and it doesn't turn out, you have to reward yourself. Well, all this crisis and all this risking and recognition, received or not, it's changing us. That's right. We're shaped and formed. As a matter of fact, the Tibetans say that adversity and adversarial situations and conflict actually sharpen our skills. They sharpen our wits, and they also reveal our limitations. Well, here's what we have to do to stay in the pyramid for a successful life. And this last step is an uphill climb, but it's evaluation. It's evaluation. How are you faring right now in this current year of COVID and the pandemic crisis that we've all been facing? You know, this slide, it's almost perfect, right? Because the streets have been empty. The highways have been less traveled. And we really find out in times like this what we're made of. You know, I like to say, even you can evaluate yourself on what were the things that you wanted to have stocked in your house when the shutdown began. It tells you a lot about who you are and what you value. Also, the people that you wanted to have. But here's a quote from my first book, Staying Calm in the Midst of Chaos, which is completely relevant today. And it goes like this: you cannot control 100% of the events in your life, but you can control that one thing, the way you respond. So I want us to really take a look at how we're responding, and also others around us, because we're not, even if we're quarantined, we're not isolated. So this area of expertise, me and chaos, oh yeah, it actually started before that cranial sacral practice. It started when I was on a family vacation, and a defining moment situation happened on that family vacation. I'm originally from Michigan, the Midwest, where Health Freedom Expo is. And what happened was my parents were coming out to the West Coast, where I live in San Diego, and they were going to be down south a little of the border to Puerto Vallarta. It was a Christmas vacation. And I decided to hijack a couple days of their Christmas vacation. So I went down to enjoy myself. And you know, the interesting thing was, at that time, I was in a career that wasn't exactly my passion. So any escape that I could get was always a way for me to rise above the chaos. So here we are on this vacation. I'm escaping my sales job. I'm noticing in this oceanfront resort that I felt like I was in a movie, because there was music everywhere we traveled at the Fiesta Americana Resort in Puerto Vallarta. That's right, it was like mariachis and all these romantic sounds. And so this one morning we woke up and went down to breakfast, and you could just see that everyone was so relaxed. The coconut oil, you could smell it in the air. The blenders were started with the margaritas for brunch, and there's the sparkling sunrise on the water. And sure enough, my dad and I went in for a swim. Now, being from Michigan and surrounded by the Great Lakes, we were a family of really good swimmers. Everybody was comfortable with the water. As a matter of fact, we loved waves and body surfing. And suddenly, during this morning, the set of breakers came up and one wave just came over. And the next thing you know, I can't tell north from south, east from west, but it splats me out onto the beach. And sure enough, I'm eating sand. But what do? You pick up your parts and your pieces, if your bathing suit's around your ankles, and you go back out and you catch another wave. And as I did that, I noticed I couldn't find my father. Oh, I thought, this is so strange. Where's my dad? I mean, I came in swimming with my dad, and the next thing you know, I see an object floating in the water. And suddenly I realize that's my father, and he has drowned. Now, this is what I learned in this defining moment in my life, was that even in a crisis like that, when I'm pulling him out of the water and that circle of people comes around to bring the breath back into his body, what I realized was that things can get very still inside and a message can come through your being, your soul, your heart. And as I saw this powerful father of mine helpless on this beach, and why had he drowned? He had a spinal cord injury. The same accident that Christopher Reeves, the famous actor, and his horse riding accident that rendered him paralyzed for the rest of his life, that happened to my father and to our family that day on the beach. But as I mentioned, I wasn't happy in my career. I knew I was meant to help people. And my being on the beach that day told me, there are no guarantees in life. So if you're going to help people, now is the time. And from my father's accident, and he did live 5 weeks as a quadriplegic, and then he made his transition, I knew when he left this earth that I was to go ahead and become an entrepreneur myself and start a business and help people for the rest of my life. So here I am, all these years later, still studying chaos, still studying defining moments. But what's unique about COVID and about what we're going through in 2020 is that it's like when my dad had his accident, only our family was in that crisis. So many people could surround us and help us out. In this pandemic, everybody's been pretty tried and pretty tested. We've all gone through a defining moment and also a secondary directional moment, because there's been setbacks for people professionally. There's been losses where people didn't even get to say goodbye to their loved ones because they couldn't get into the hotel, the hospital, or to the nursing home. And there's even been changes in relationship status. You know, some people don't want to talk. Some people don't want to leave the house. They don't want to go for walks or to church. They're even still having their groceries delivered. So this has been a huge shift. And again, it's because of an external event, an external crisis. So I like to tell people, because I espouse to that philosophy of the Tibetans, that chaos is the great teacher. And the reason is because the better I know myself in this world and in this life, the better I can show myself. That's right. Show up to things that are your strengths, that are your strong suits, where you can gaze and glow. Now notice we've also under quarantine had plenty of time to look in the mirror and find out how happy we are with our lives, with our loved ones, with our families. But it absolutely is the goal of my talk with you and presentation today for you to understand that greatness has already been coming through for you as a result of this crisis. Even if it's as simple as being grateful for your home, the sunshine, being able to take a walk, and being healthy. My goodness, talk about health freedom. If you don't have and you haven't had the experience of the virus, and if you overcame it, wow, even stronger immune system. So here we are. External chaos has changed the landscape. You know, it's distanced us greatly, which is why that looking in the mirror scenario has been predominant. You know, me, myself, and I will get through this. Me, myself, and Zoom. We will conquer all. But what is the impact for you with all the distancing? When you do go out in public, how do you feel with the mask on? And how do you feel when somebody gets too close to you? My husband works for Whole Foods, and in his 40 years of the grocery business, he's never seen so much tension with people, because if they do cross barriers and lines of social distancing, people can get very reactive, which kind of leads us to that idea that I mentioned when I told you I got into cranial sacral therapy, that if you have a lot of internal chaos, it will impact how you're responding out in the world. Here in Southern California, our gyms opened for a period of time, and then they shut, and then they opened again. But there would be people screaming across the gym at other people, younger people working out, screaming at them to have their mask on right, to clean after they touched a machine or what have you. And I couldn't help but think, oh my gosh, these people must have a lot of internal chaos that they're screaming across the gym, when clearly these younger people are not anywhere close to 6 feet. So let's look at the internal chaos. I mean, doesn't the slide say it all? For a while there during COVID, people couldn't stop watching the TV. They just became obsessed with watching all the recent news and outbreaks here and there and the counts and whatever was going on. And a lot of anxiety, of course, was fueled. You know, am I high risk? You know, have I been doing enough to stay healthy? Is today the time, or is it too late? And people were afraid if they couldn't work, afraid financially, afraid just, you know, the home of the brave and the free, that's our country in America. And it certainly didn't feel very free. And a lot of us didn't feel very brave. But we are, and we'll find it. But what I know is if you don't have strategies in place, which is what we're going to be talking about, then this tendency to overreact, like I told you that people were at the grocery store and at the gym, this tendency to overreact or lash out, well, it's just not going to go away. And let's face it, we've all had to vent. We've just all had to vent during this pandemic. But I want to also mention withdrawing. What happens is if we withdraw, we actually go to a more dangerous place because we shut down, we give up. Oh, I don't want to watch the news. I don't want to talk to anybody. I don't want to answer emails, whatever. Withdrawing, though, doesn't solve any problem. if we go back to the pyramid for a successful life, withdrawing is not an active step of risking or getting an outcome or changing. Withdrawing is just a downward spiral. And we really can't afford that, especially if we even talk about the immune system. The immune system doesn't do well in depression. But let's look more closely at the internal chaos categories, just so you can do a little checkup from the neck up. Again, we've all had our moments of overreacting, no question about it. You know, it's funny because we can overreact to, you know, a story where somebody takes their husband to the emergency room and never sees them again because they have COVID and they can't go in and say goodbye. Or we can overreact that, you know, certain businesses are closed and others aren't. And they're very similar. Well, if you're a business owner of one of those businesses that's closed, this happened with nail salons and hair. You know, I live in Southern California, so hair salons and nail pedicure and manicure places are very popular. And, you know, hair salons could be open, but nail places couldn't. So people were just really upset. And there was almost like an endless fear and frustration because, okay, maybe a business did open, but then you had all these rules. I'm sure that you understand, for all of you who had to implement, and all of you means every one of you, unless you were working at home, implementing the COVID strategies of getting their temperature, of having the mask, of walking along the taped areas and not the others, having to line up to go to the grocery store or the gym, just all these. It's called loss of the familiar. We just lost so much familiar. Even if your church did open up, I mean, there were people that felt like, why can the bars be open but the churches can't? You know, again, this is another place where a lot of internal chaos got stirred up for people. And that brings us to unhealthy coping habits. I know. You did the best you can. I remember the first couple of months, it was like, oh, most people are like, we're noticing the COVID-10, meaning people are putting on some weight. Now, of course, this isn't everybody, but some people with their gyms closed and with the fear of leaving their houses, I mean, what happens to exercise? And we know fresh air and sunlight are good for us. And especially this happened during summer months. So any unhealthy coping habits that might have happened, again, this isn't meant to make you feel bad, but those have to be reconstrued. What I try to tell people in times of crisis is stay to your routine as closely as you can. For example, a lot of people let go at the end of the year with Christmas and Thanksgiving celebrations, and they're just, oh, you know, they pay the piper in January. But the interesting thing about people who value health is we don't really go off the mark during those seasonal changes. I mean, not that people don't have a little cheat day here and there or have a little bit of an enjoyable interlude, but overall, to keep your health strong and resilient and your immune system, if you got into unhealthy coping habits, it's time to turn it around. Just think about how you are when January arrives, after you've been having maybe more rich and lavish meals and parties. Well, you have to get back on track. And so for all of us, as we come back into the world post-COVID, and we're in a process, no one would say it's over right now during this conference, I don't think. We're in a process of getting back to it, but please self-correct and just honor yourself for doing the best you can, but self-correct. A lot of us have had expectations and judgments. Again, I even mentioned one a minute ago, you know, why are the bars open and restaurants, but the churches are closed during the major quarantine? People felt like it's not making exactly sense. And so some people would get very anxious about their expectations and their judgments of how things were being handled in their state or in the government. But here's the thing. There are events you cannot control. So if you're not controlling the state or the city, then you have to adapt. You have to adapt to what's going on, and you have to move on. In other words, stay to your routine. Try to keep yourself as calm and as possible so that you can minimize the fear. But we all have had to face it, that's for certain. And last but not least, if you can keep your disciplines about how you see others and about your expectations, it'll help with this lashing out. As I said earlier, we've all had to vent. We've all had to get out our opinion on one matter or the next. You know, because from COVID came a lot of violence and a lot of different trajectories of causes and movements. And the thing is, as if the pandemic wasn't enough to board the self-pity express, even the uncertainty, as we all get together this weekend, there's still a huge uncertainty of what the future is going to look like. And will we get back to normal? Or will it be a new normal? So I do recommend venting so that you don't board the self-pity express and stay on it. You have to move through it. You have to move through it because we've all, you know, we've all experienced, I call it the Corona coaster. We've all had our ups, like certain days where we think, oh, I can handle this. And then other days where the impact was just so great. Did it hit you at 2 months or 3 months? Some areas opened up sooner than others. But here's what we've all experienced by being in a defining moment of such a huge, catastrophic, global impact. We've had cell death in the hippocampus just from the stress of the news, the stress of the uncertainty. And this impacts our memory and our learning. We've had a compromised limbic system, which is like a hierarchy brain that just reads data and kind of warns us when things are good, green light, go, or maybe no, cautionary, or don't get involved at all. The limbic system, it's like your subconscious, it's a guide. We can have a feeling of detachment. Obviously, it's easy to see why, because we are. You know, even when we're together, you can go into the gym and you can go, I'm not sure if I recognize that person or not, and you've been working out there for 10 years. So that's a feeling of detachment. And then long-term effects of stress. You know, some people have been through wars. And some people have been through really different and difficult health challenges. So their blood-brain barrier is more permeable, which means they have a greater sensitivity to chemicals and stimulants. Well, the interesting thing is in quarantine, we've been so separated, we're not even sure what it's going to be like to go back to life at full gallop. But we're going to be finding out. And another impact of COVID is a lot of us just didn't even know, like, unless the season had changed, a lot of us didn't know, oh no, it's September. If you have kids and you had to adjust to online learning, of course, then you were very familiar with September and end of August. But a lot of people didn't have that. And it was almost like, oh, the temperatures had to change. The sun had to start setting, because every day was kind of the same. So we agree, right? There's been a boat full and then some of chaos, or I should say a train full, cargo loads. But now we want to talk about how do you rise above it? Let's jump to this heroic slide. Again, from my years of research, working with blue collar, working with all different types of people in the school systems, nursing systems, people that were frontline people and labor, as well as executives. There is a thread, and it goes through gender, age, and again, social status, economic power. There's a quality that some people, no matter what their race or status, that they can just take a challenge and they know they're going to be okay. They're going to be able to handle it. And so, having studied people and worked with people for all these years, I found that quality, that one quality that helps people, no matter who they are or where they are, rise above the chaos. And that quality is self-efficacy. That's right. I'm going to give you the definition. It's two parts. First of all, it's a mindset. It's a person's belief in his or her capacity to achieve something. So there's a lot of people that made up their mind at the beginning of COVID. I'm not going to get it. I'm going to learn from it. I'm going to love more. They just made up their mind. I'm going to make something good happen. That was a good way to approach it, by the way. All right. But the certainty, which is the second part of the quality of these people, is that they know that they have the power to produce the intended result. And power is something that's earned. Power is something that we get when we take each of these adversarial circumstances and we rise above them. So that means the longer that you've gone through a challenging time, the greater your strength in facing the next challenge or the next adversity. I had the privilege of working with cancer patients. That's how I actually discovered the Health Freedom Expo. And what I noticed was when somebody was diagnosed with cancer, if they had the mindset that they were going to heal, guess what? They did everything in their power. They really did. And you know their odds of healing were greater. And by the way, as a cancer survivor myself, 17-year cancer survivor, using the immune system, immunotherapy, I can only tell you that I had known chaos like my father's accident before and different disappointments that we all have in life as things come together or fall apart. But nothing made me stronger than when I healed from cancer and then worked with cancer patients. Because this capacity to believe that you can achieve something and then gradually over time, letting yourself become stronger and stronger so that you have power to turn obstacles into opportunities. That's a pretty exciting time, no matter what's going on. But let's face it, things have really changed. I mean, no one has that roadmap right now. So I have a question for you. How is technology treating you? Yeah. Do you love your Zoom life? I mean, it's amazing, isn't it, how companies have pivoted. And even this conference, I mean, it's so fantastic that we can, while the world is healing, you know, and that's something that's happened too. The world has been healing, you know, the earth herself has been healing, oceans have been healing, and all different, the air has been cleaner, and all these different things have happened during COVID. But how is technology treating you? Are you fueled up from it, or are you fed up? Fed up. Because it's interesting, when you know a lot of health professionals, they'll say, oh my goodness, you know, technology does have its way with the human body. We are having a lot of people with different symptoms of stress that they're still needing to come and see us, even if they're not out and about, and, you know, they're not weekend warriors anymore with their Jeeps. They're, you know, Zoom warriors. Let's call them Zoom warriors. Well, between all the chaos in the world and all the technology that we're now streaming our lives away with, I want to introduce this idea of your biofield. Because when it comes to rising above the chaos, you have to understand that we've all been hit with energy around us that we're not used to processing. So the National Institute of Health differentiated the biofield in 1994 as the field of energy and information that surrounds and interpenetrates the human body. So that's why you can see that really we've all been hit. We've all been hit in this experience. And another thing that people don't realize, I mean, the people that are a little more fed up with technology than fueled up are going to understand this one. But the circuitry of our bodies is we're electrical. We have electromagnetic fields. We have putative, subtle energies, chi, prana, all the natural healers and health people love exploring and clearing and cleansing the energy of the biofield. But it's a real situation that when you clean up your energy, when you clean up your thoughts, when you rise up, positive vibes help us rise. When you rise up, it affects the biochemistry and the physiology. So having that lifted mindset, that rise above approach to life is going to help your immune system. And since we can't control what's out there in technology, we can't control what the news feed is or what elections are going to happen and who's going to be where, when. What we have to do now, more than ever, is we have to create a restorative environment, not just in our homes, but in our work. So a multi-sensory approach is what I call it when you want to create a restorative environment. You know, even if we go back to that other slide, look at the dynamics and look at the color, you know, that comes from the Alex Gray biofield. I mean, our bodies and even the chakras, our bodies respond to color. We all like to see a blue sky. Well, we can put blue in our homes, on our walls, in our furnishings, or any favorite color that you might have. Art is very uplifting. And another thing about being so sequestered for so long is maybe you need to do a little feng shui move the art pieces around, change things up so you don't have same old, same old. Because any subtle changes in the environment, even music is so calming and soothing. You can have that on in the background to just help you feel like I'm in my bubble, right? I'm in my bubble. I'm letting my body heal. I'm letting my biofield clear. If you hear something scary or see something that upsets you, you can go to your restorative environment. Family heirlooms. This is one of my favorite points because it's so obvious, but people never talk about it. Do you notice that we always have pictures of special holidays or special anniversaries and celebrations? You know, we never have photos of, oh, this is right before, you know, somebody slipped and broke their leg, or here they are after the accident, and we don't frame it and put it in our living room. No, we have pictures and on trips and weddings and babies being born and family gatherings where everybody's got a big smile on their face. But let those special people that have helped you in your family, find them and put them in a frame. Again, even during COVID, I think it's been important to go find like that special grandparent or that special teacher and put them in the frame and have them on the desk to remind you, look, everything's going to be okay. Fragrance. Again, now we're talking olfactory, but fragrance can just center us, ground us, calm us, soothe us. Is it candles that you're burning? Is it essential oils? Again, I mentioned that a lot of people, you learned a lot about people by what did they want to hoard at the beginning of quarantine. Well, I, for one, wanted my essential oils. I did not want to run out of eucalyptus frankincense. Oh, no, baby, no way. And I think everybody has some part of that, you know. For other people, it might be the fragrance of cooking. Oh, yeah, got to make the apple pie. But last thing that I want to introduce is something that I learned about when I was working with those cancer patients. As I mentioned, I was healed with immunotherapy and worked for a hospital using the immune system to reverse cancer. And without any medical training and without any hospice training, I was working in chaos. Well, I told you, I've been researching chaos for over 25 years. So there I was doing all this research, and yet I knew deep inside of myself, I was getting near burnout. And I learned about these healing discs, which I have on my website, but I want to show them to you now. These were created by Barbara Evans, and they're beautiful empowerment discs that lift the vibration. So as I said earlier, in the biofield, color, sacred geometry, these things lift us. And even when I first discovered them, you know, I was reticent to make an investment and purchase them. But what was funny was the minute that I did feel the power of raising the biofield. And I did feel shifts. And I knew that I was near a crisis or burnout situation. And I knew that I was given tools to surround myself with a more harmonious, joy-filled vibration. I even got scarves, and these again are on my website, creativelifesolutions.com. You can Google my name, and I'm in the exhibitor camp as well. But when I bought my first scarf, I got the second one from the left, the real royal blue one, and that's Heart of Love. And when I bought the scarf, I was traveling and speaking at a cancer show. And so I took the scarf with me, traveled with it on the plane, put it in the hotel room. And it was just a, you know, boring, sorry, Embassy Suites, but just like a boring brown and beige room. And I put the scarf down on a coffee table and I came back into the room and it felt like it was a happier room. I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. How does this even work? But for those of you who are familiar with holographic healing and the holographic universe and sacred geometry, you understand. And for those of you who are wondering about it, I always say, it's old fashioned, but proof's in the pudding. Like if something makes you feel better, it's probably good for you. So these tools, I call them tools to lift the biofield, have been very monumental to me. And I've worked with some pretty extensive chaos and crisis. So I feel like if you have that type of an environment going on where you need to create a restorative environment, I encourage you to explore further. Well, let's stay with color. So we want to have it in our external environment, but what about how we eat? We can eat colorfully too. So when people ask me for advice on, you know, having more energy and losing some of the COVID 10 or 15, I'll just say, eat the rainbow. I told you, you have to have simple strategies when people are in a lot of chaos. So eating the rainbow is simple because what it means is if I eat these different colored vegetables and fruits, if I'm eating blue and purple, I think that all vegetables and fruits help with fighting cancer, but I'm getting rid of unwanted inflammation. With blue and purple, they're more rare, so I get some powerful antioxidants and I get to improve my mineral absorption of whatever else I'm eating or drinking. In green vegetables, I always say to people, always have, if you eat protein, which we all have to live, right? Always have some green vegetables because it promotes digestive enzymes. It also boosts the immune system, detoxifies the body, restores energy and vitality. What about red and white? Well, nature leaves clues. So in red, we are supporting the heart, the blood, the skin, and the joints. In white and brown, we've got protection against cancers, stronger bones, lowering cholesterol. It's a healthy heart choice, and it helps in balancing the hormones. And in orange and yellow, we're preventing again cancer, promoting collagen, the immune system. And you know, when you were a kid, eat your carrots so you can see the old orange carrots in the eyes. Yellow, it helps with heart disease, vision, as well as promoting digestion and immune function. Sometimes my husband will hear me rehearsing for speeches, and he'll one day he heard me talking about when I'm really stressed and my digestion is not feeling right, I'll just have a baked potato and yellow squash. And again, it's for this digestion, something easy to digest, something that's going to balance hormones, give my bones some support. So eat the rainbow. Okay. So we've been through the full spectrum, internal and external chaos. We've talked about the quality that people possess who can rise above the chaos. We've talked about the impact in the biofield and some tools to offset that impact. As a matter of fact, here's one of the hugest of them all. Are you worried or are you worthy? Because having an inherent trust, which does come from experience, is monumental with what we're staring down today. And because of my experience in these 20 some years with all these chaos strategies, I'm so honored to be able to partner with Trinity Natural Health and offer a program that's going to start early November to all of you who want further support to rise above the chaos and redefine your lives. So my question is, are you worthy of investigating and joining a group of people for a 7-week series where we're going to not only go through, I'll explain to you thoroughly what we're going to be offering, but the published research from my latest book, Rise Above the Chaos, and my Managing Chaos with Confidence CD set. This is going to be a customized program so that each person's goals of how they're trying to redefine and transform their lives and develop that self-efficacy to help them rise are going to be explored. 7-week series from November 3rd to December 15th. It's an online class, 90-minute Zoom sessions with teaching like we're doing here today, and Q&A, workbooks galore, and strategies galore. Not workbooks galore. Well, maybe I will do more than one. So how are you going to redefine your life post-COVID? How are you going to redefine your business? As I see it, there's kind of 3 options. You can hire somebody privately for coaching, and they're going to give you that one-on-one support, which is brilliant because you don't have to share the talent. You get exactly what you need. But I think the thing that we're missing with all this social distancing is we're missing connection. We're missing peer empowerment. And so that's why this class has been formulated, is to provide a mastermind mentoring series for you to grow while others are growing with you. And what I've found in my classes, this class that starts in November will be my 3rd one that we're doing online, Rise Above the Chaos, Redefine Your Life, is that people are getting so much just from the other students, let alone from the material that's being used to grow and facilitate greater awareness and skills. And the 3rd option is you can do nothing and just let life take you where it's going to take you. But again, if we go all the way back to that first slide about living in nonstop crisis and risking to get the desired outcome, if ever there was a time to team up with other talent and people, I think the time is now. Because one of the things that I experienced with my 20 years as a motivational speaker is I spent 4 months from April to August, 4.5 months with these great minds in the country, and we were having conversations, and what we found was that as we came together, we were growing better and better. That's why, as I like to say, animals travel in a herd. Why? To stay protected. So it's kind of a time to herd up. And even being here this weekend is joining the herd. The Health Freedom Herd, the Trinity Natural Health School Herd. You're doing it just by being here. So in the program, I want you to know what's going to be offered because it's a lot. A lot is being offered. Ways to redefine your approach to the world and marketing yourself, discovering your core motives so you can really cultivate your leadership style. If you're working with a team or you already run your own business, being able to navigate and galvanize the skills of your team, of your health professionals, so that everybody can navigate together, finding new opportunities to attract you clients for further work in health or whatever your profession is. The online world is not going away. We've all got to find where we can boost our businesses through the online opportunities. And then, of course, just like we started in this session, mastering communication competencies to minimize conflict and that lashing out stuff, learning about the Chaos Trilogy from all my published books and CDs so that you can navigate in each phase of the Chaos Trilogy, as well as just post-COVID as we re-enter whatever this new world is. Also a deeper dive into the external versus internal chaos and ways to resolve and neutralize them. And then guess what? You're going to be able to help more people because you're going to recognize their stress response systems. And you're going to know yours. So, some of the people that have been through my class was a natural dentistry here in Escondido, California. And she said every week she was just eager and energized, couldn't wait to see what she was going to learn that week. And she felt, Carrico, that the material was easy. Like I said, when people are in chaos, they need easy to digest material. So that's what I do. And then another expert in the financial realms who had done a number of courses on leadership because she worked with big companies like Mass Mutual, and they train their finance experts to work with leaders. And she said, oh my God, the leadership tools that she learned in the Rise Above the Chaos program were so simple that she didn't get overwhelmed and that she felt very motivated. So here's what we have. Partnering with Trinity School of Natural Health, you can reset your optimism right away, starting now. As soon as you register, as soon as you register, you'll get your materials, which includes Rise Above the Chaos book and the CD set and the workbook and all these different things. So this 7-week series is going to be done on Zoom, 7 90-minute classes, and it normally sells for $19.97, but with Trinity and because of the Health Freedom Expo, you get a $500 savings. It's $14.97. And not only do you get the 7-week series and all the materials and customized tool that you'll take before the class begins so we address your needs, you're going to have a 1-hour executive mentoring session with me during the program or after. And because you're in the class, I'm going to be able to help you so much in just one session to know yourself, and grow your business. So you've got to register by October 27th to get this fabulous rate, which is the Tuesday, 1 week before the class starts. If you wait until Wednesday, the price only goes up $200 to $16.97, but you do lose the 1-hour coaching session. So you get all the materials, you still get a customized class with the assessment. The better you know yourself, the better you grow yourself, the better you grow your business. So I guess as we wrap up today, I have to ask you, are you ready to rise? I mean, the content that's going to be in this conference is going to help you rise. I know that for sure. But if you are looking for more support to help you from now till the end of the year to really be ready for your purpose in 2021, because at this point now we have to just reinvent ourselves as things open up, redefine ourselves, And then from the ashes of COVID's adversity, find joy and finish 2020 with trust and with purpose. So you register for the class at riseabovethechaos.net. I'm Carolyn Gross with Creative Life Solutions. I'm an exhibitor, and it's so an honor to be with Health Freedom Expo and for all of us to get ready for greater possibilities, because our chaos muscles and wings have definitely been tested in 2020. So it's my pleasure to be with you, and I look forward to seeing you in person next year, 2021. I know that's just my goal. Thanks everybody for joining us today. It has really been a thrill.